That's right.
Be clear that you are here for the right reason, because you understand what this means. You are about to hear from people who understand what that means too, and who are willing to give something up for what they believe in. I ask the question, what are you willing to give up? I ask the question, if it's your warmth, cool. Thank you for being here. If it's your time, cool. We appreciate you. Are you willing to give up your job?
Yes.
Are you willing to give up an election? Are you willing to give up your comfort and driving home to a warm apartment today because there are students who slept on this lawn last night because they have committed to giving something up for what they believe is necessary for the liberation of Palestinians? And so I find the place to land is power to the students forever. Thank you for leading us once again. Thank you for telling us what is the right way to go about this. How dare this state, this city repress your voice? How dare they come in here with police batons and municipal forces that we give way too much money to? They're telling us the mayor was here yesterday. The mayor was here yesterday. And the same mayor who couldn't find funding for migrant resources, the same mayor who said we don't have enough money to house people, we might as well sweep them into whatever version of shelter that we want to call it. The same mayor at no point decreased the police budget. And you want to know why? It was because of yesterday. It's not because our communities are less safe or more violent. It is because we choose to invest in resources. Budgets are moral documents. The people that are here today are people who are fighting against that, who believe that students have an unfettered right to be able to say what they want to say, no matter if it's from a tent or from a pulpit. And so, the story I was going to get to, I'm sorry, is last November, we had a special session where we were talking about property taxes, which is cool if you have property. I don't. Property taxes are cool, but I don't even make enough money to rent. So, it's a little different for folks like me. But I want to be very clear. In the discussion, there was a bill that came up allowing the state of Colorado to get $30 million for summer EBT so that hungry kids could eat during the summer too. It's a good bill. There's also a deep consideration about how, as the state of Colorado, we are willing to enable the poor. We are willing to create complicity with the poor, that they would be allowed to spend our tax dollars as they get their food as they should. But should they be giving that money to apartheid states? Should they be giving that to products that are from apartheid states?
No.
And there was one representative who ran an amendment that said we have no appetite for apartheid in the state of Colorado. There's one representative who sat there for 41 minutes at the well and described why it is not the responsibility of the poor to have to fund an apartheid state, that if people who get EBT right now, you can't buy a sheet cake with EBT. You can't buy hot chicken with EBT. You can't even buy sushi prepared with EBT. But the minute that we draw the line at hummus and dates from Israel, all of a sudden we have a way different conversation on our hands.
That's right.
There is one representative who stood there for 41 minutes.
That's right, Elizabeth.
And said, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't ask poor people to be complicit in apartheid. Maybe, just maybe, as a state, we should guide us in a different direction. Maybe we should just look at something else in this system so that people here have the full agency to not support immoral things abroad. And that representative is State Representative Elizabeth Epps. And so I'm here to warm up the stage for State Representative Elizabeth Epps for House District 6. Please give her some love. Thank you. Si se puede, and power to the students forever.
Yeah!
Hell yeah!
Y'all gotta give me and my anxiety a second. I was not supposed to be next, so now I gotta
No anxiety.
We love you, Elizabeth.
So I am, this is interesting. James Lacey. And I am State Representative Elizabeth Epps. I'm leaning into saying the state representative part because my man asked, are you willing to lose an election? And I am, if that's what it comes to. I'd rather not, but I'm learning to say state representative, say it as often as possible because who knows how long I'm going to be able to say it and be telling the truth. I love Denver, Colorado. This place has been good to me. And I'm an abolitionist. Is anyone else? That means we do the work to make this place good and healthy and safe and free for others. I'm the founder and executive director of the Colorado Freedom Fund. I am an abolitionist, like I said, and I'm the state rep specifically for House District 6. Is anyone here my constituent? Okay, love you. So Cap Hill, Congress Park, and so I'm talking right now to just y'all. If you live in Cap Hill, Congress Park, Cheeseman Park, East Colfax, Lowry, I want you to know, paraphrasing our friend and sister Cori Bush, your state representative loves you. And the rest of y'all, I love you too. I tell you that because abolition is love, right? Abolition is creation. It's creating a world where that thing and those things we're going to tear down don't need to exist. We know they don't need to exist, but where folks can't justify having them. And I don't know a version of abolition that isn't grounded in love and that isn't working alongside a path that is for the freedom of Palestinians. Those things are, it's deeper than synonymous, right? It's at the core of this work. Thinking about electoral politics, y'all. Did anyone see this week's Summerlee's results?
Yeah.
Somebody saw Summerlee won. You would like Summerlee if you don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Summerlee won against all the money. And Summerlee won as a black woman who was at the federal level and would not shut up about Palestine.
That's right. That's
She also wouldn't shut up about worker protections in Pittsburgh and all the things.
That's right.
And she was outspent and outmatched, but was not outworked and could not be outworked. She won, this little bitty black woman. She won again, I should say, because she's been winning. And she said a thing that I'm speaking here to candidates and legislators who are out here today. She said that it is good policy and good politics to support Palestine.
That's right. That's right.
And to hear that named, right, whatever the opposite of gaslighting is, that's what that was. To hear her say, and she's about this big, but hear her say it's both good policy and good politics to stand for Palestine. Is anyone, I heard someone asking this, but I've lost track of what the answer was. Are folks here who were arrested last night? Yep. So you didn't get the message, right? They arrested you, not just to put your body in a cage, but they arrested you to tell you, you don't belong here. You're supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to be silent. You didn't get that message. They also sent that message, it's to you all, right? So even in terms of a political context, they're not just coming after me, they're coming after me so that you don't run, okay? So you didn't get that message, but it was occurred to me this morning sitting in court, and I do want to say shout out to the folks who are watching online, because I am the reason why you can't watch court online, and so we know that you're watching Tim. But it's really this campus administration, our governor, God bless him, Sama Bills, who didn't get the message. The message is that we're not going to go anywhere. Last night, or whatever, night before last time is losing its meaning to me. But I asked the folks who were here, was there anybody who was their first protest? Is there anybody today for whom it's your first time protesting for Palestine? Everybody's an old head. Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
Welcome. And we went through the numbers, right? Who's been doing this 10, 20, 30, 40 years? They didn't get the message over all of these years that we're not going to shut up about Palestine.
Never.
I had has anybody read the autobiography of Angela Davis? Has anybody not read it? Maybe
That's right.
So I've read it at different points in my life because she was very young when she wrote it, in her 20s. And, you know, we love you in your 20s, but it's very, very young. And I've revisited it. And every time I revisit it, I come away with so much more and so much new. But in the past year, right? That's just, she reissued the volume, and she gives us new intros to it. And this year, what do you think she's talking about as she's touring and talking, and she's talking to students? What is she leading with in her talks? Palestine.
Palestine.
And this isn't new, but she, in those intros, quotes a woman who I often quote. It's been 2 days since I saw you, some of you. I asked y'all if you heard of June Jordan.
That's right.
And, okay, that was a louder reception, so that means some folks did their homework.
That's
So if
right.
you don't know who June Jordan is, your homework is still to find out who she is. And the professor who answered me two days ago, let someone else see if someone else knows the answer to this question. Very weirdly worded sentence. June Jordan said she had a 2-pronged test. And I bring this up because Angela Davis is now traveling and speaking, and she speaks about a test. She's talking about June Jordan. Hope that synthesizes. June Jordan said she had a 2-pronged test for your humanity, for testing your character. That she could ask 2 questions and know who you were, and if you were about that life, basically. There were 2 questions. What was the first question?
That's right.
How do you treat queer people? And
That's
he
right.
didn't know this before, so he's learned. The teacher can learn too. Right? She would have used the word gay in the late 70s, early 80s, but how do you treat
gay
queer people? And there was a second question. Somebody tell me who didn't know 2 days ago. What was her second question that told her all she needed to know about you?
We're at the Aurora campus.
What's your
Denver,
position on
Colorado.
Palestine? Imagine
Listening
this,
to
right?
Elizabeth Epps.
Being a black woman born in Harlem, and you're a poet, and you're living life and doing things, and you come down to understanding that what you need to know about a person can really start and end with those 2 questions. Angela Davis has been revisiting that, and she tells us that now there's a version of us understanding that asking about Palestine is asking all of it. And so when you're here and thinking about what it means for you in this moment, I hope you'll consider that for literal generations before us, the queer feminist scholars who paved this way were telling us this issue was central. Just like 2 nights ago, I'm like, can't say that, skip past that, I can't say that.
Oh no.
Definitely. What was I thinking? Fuck it up! Can't say that. Can't say that.
Can't say that.
I'm thinking. No, I appreciate that. Is Rob Prince here perchance?
Maybe.
Okay, Rob Prince, tell him I said this. Rob Prince is the OG. Okay? One of the OGs. I asked him if it felt different this time. And when I say this time, I mean these months. For those of us who've been out here in these streets and on these campuses for literal decades, where our parents were taking us to protests because our parents believed in Proverbs 22:6, and you raise up a child in the way that she should go, and when she is old, she won't depart from it, right? This feels different to me this time. And I asked him if it was different, and by different, I just mean, is it going to break, right? Is Palestine going to be free? Am I going to live to see a liberated Palestine?
Yes. In our lifetime.
You know, Rob Prince is colorful, so I can't say it quite like he said it. But he thinks it's different too. He thinks this time is different too. But what he told me is that it's not just different in terms of people seeing the truth, refusing to be lied to by your governments. That, but also that it's different because it's much, much darker. He said it's different because as opposed to what we faced 10 and 20 and 30 years ago, I'm not talking about 70 years ago, but in our lifetime, it's different because they're taking folks' jobs and access to scholarships. And you do all the things. You come here as an immigrant, you check all the boxes, you play by their rules, you get to be valedictorian of their overpriced, fancy school. And they won't let you give your valedictory speech because you're a little bit Muslim.
Shame!
We weren't facing those sort of things. We, here, 10 years ago. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as recently as 2 years ago, can I go ahead and introduce? Her?
We'll have to make an adjustment.
Okay, my bad. It was going to be such a smooth segue. I was going to say this thing, and then I was going to tee up introducing my Palestinian colleague. It was going to be great. But he says they have to adjust something. As recently as 2 years ago, so I'm a legislator, and I have colleagues who are legislators, and some of them are Zionists. And some of my, one particularly of a colleague of mine who is Zionist, when I was under relative attack, political attack is not attack, but being called anti-Semitic because I wouldn't shut up about Palestine, my Jewish colleague, who was also, in this case, is a Zionist colleague, supported me, stood by me, signed the letter Jews for Elizabeth Epps. And fast forward 2 years, I haven't changed my position at all. I mean, if anything, I've doubled down and loved deeper. I'm connecting this to Rob Prince telling us it's darker. So this person who saw me and knew where I was okay with where I was 2 years ago. And it has been heartbreaking to be isolated and no longer be okay. And so the question with me has been, and I'm offering it to you for those who you're going to face this soon enough if you haven't yet, because if you throw it down hard enough, you're going to face some repercussions, is I'm wondering how can it be different? If you were signing the Jews for me last statement 2 years ago, how can you not now? And it's Rob Prince who helped me understand. It's because 2 years ago, it was an abstract thing to them that Palestine might be free. So my little radical idea, we know it's not my little radical idea, but this idea that I had this little issue I cared about, it wasn't threatening to them because they didn't think Palestine would be free. Are you following me? Yeah. So I was palatable to them in my blackness, and in my indigeneity, and in my queerness, and in my unapologetic love for Palestine. They could handle it because Palestine wasn't going to be free on their watch. So what's changed in 2 years is you're still out here, and our friend is new to being out here, and Palestine will be free. And if that means that I sacrifice some relationships, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't sound just terrible, but you cannot think you cannot think I care about the friendship of people who don't care if I'm alive or dead.
That's right.
It doesn't make the workday comfortable. It doesn't make the workday comfortable. But I cannot be bothered to be lectured on how to protest genocide by people who are cool with genocide. But there are people who do matter. And I stress them out sometimes. Biden is. I can't even tell you how much we love you, by the way. There are people who do matter. To the students who are going to see some emails not get answered, some HR calls not come back around, I promise you, like I promised you 2 days ago, and it'll still be true, that job wasn't the one you wanted, baby girl. That wasn't the place for you. When you lose an opportunity because you're on the right side of this issue, where this issue is freedom, liberation, Palestine, being against ethnic cleansing, these are the easy positions, y'all. These are the easy positions. Your life was going to be hell at that place had you been there. Because what you have to sell to be complicit and comfortable isn't worth it. As it happens, risking losing an election, whether it happens or not. Summer Lee taught us just last Tuesday in Pittsburgh. Do you think that Pittsburgh is like the super radical leftist? It's not. Yeah. Pittsburgh saw her, sent her back because it's good politics and good policy to support Palestine. And one of the reasons why some of us who are real disillusioned about electoral politics, a big reason why we come back is because I'll be damned if the only person in the Colorado State Legislature who has that flag on her desk is my Palestinian colleague. And if the only person who objects when people say wild things on the mic, hateful, dark things like she's not sitting right there, I'd rather have my colleague, I'm talking about my Palestinian legislator who's over here, I don't know if y'all can see her. I'd rather have her be upset with me for being too loud than nobody be speaking up. Because in the same way that opposing genocide and supporting liberation is easy, y'all, if you're a legislator or a candidate, it's the easy thing to do to be loud and disruptive when somebody is calling for the death of our colleague or our colleague's family and friends. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I want you to know how thankful I am for y'all out here. How thankful I am. Folks ask me if I want to speak. The answer is always no. Absolutely not. I do not. That is not what I want. I want to not be speaking. But I always will if asked. Because I work in one of the places. Does anybody work in a place that all day long is gaslighting? That all day long is
Not
up,
anymore.
up, is down, down? Is it really that wild to think people should get to live inside? Like what? And when you do, it's really important to have spaces and places where reasonable, rational, compassionate, loving people do think neighbors should get to live inside. I am so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful. She's walking away. For my colleague, she's not crying because she's a thug. Even thugs cry. I'm grateful for you, Representative. I'm so grateful for you. She wears this little Palestinian flag pin. And we wear, our colleague called it a terrorist neckerchief. I was really impressed that he figured out the word neckerchief. And she moves in these spaces with grace in a way that I'll never have, but will aspire to have. When you're doing whatever's next for you, do it until it's a little bit more uncomfortable. You're not going to regret that. The example I give as she starts to hit over is, and I'm going to connect it to a thing that my colleague before me, Representative Hernandez, said. He told you a story about what happened in November with an amendment around no appetite for apartheid. He said I was the only one who was standing, for 41 minutes. That was a specific amount of time, had to run out the clock, etc. But some of you know this. I'm going to tell you again, though. I told him, if there's 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 representatives who stand with me, then you can stand with me too. But if it's just me, then let me stand alone. He was already in the crosshairs of the media. He was already being vilified on national news. He didn't need that exposure. But I was very insistent. I also wanted my other colleague to just not be there. And she wasn't there that day. I felt you in my spirit. But I didn't need my Palestinian colleague on the front lines while this was happening. And Representative Hernandez looked at me like I was out of my mind. Is that ableist? Looked at me
Why is that 357?
like he couldn't understand what I was saying when I told him to not stand with me if it was just him. And he stood at his seat for 41 minutes in solidarity with me.
All
While
right.
people moved in circles, doing tricky things and backroom things to make things not happen, he stood in solidarity. And on the Zoom screen was our colleague who was across town, home with her baby, I hope, who was also with me. And that representative is the embodiment of many things, but Representative Judah is in this moment. She's the embodiment of what Rep. Hernandez said when he said, it's a very, very office quote here, quoting, someone quoting, someone quoting. Ayanna Pressley tells us that the people who are closest to the pain must be closest to the power.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be a Palestinian who is in this space, and I can't imagine the survivor guilt or the complications or the ache or the lack of Wi-Fi, and you can't hear all the things that our Palestinian neighbors are dealing with. Imagine having to deal with it with a camera in your face all day, every day at the legislature. She's close to that pain, and we are very, very blessed that she's also really close to the power. She is the power. She's our friend and our colleague. I don't want to call her comrade. She's my friend and colleague and mentor. If you don't start walking,
She's like running out of words.
Representative Jane.
Before we hear from the representative, we're going to do some adjustments with the sound and a quick announcement. Hey, pick up your trash, please. Let's all have some self-respect and respect of our campus. If you're a guest on our campus, remember students are working really hard to make this happen. So please, please, please pick up after yourself. Or even if you see a loose piece of trash, pick it up. We have a lot of trash bags around. We can all do this. Keep a nice thing. Thank you. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
All right. Okay. I can't hear out of my right ear, but we're good. All right.
Such a good argument. 357.
Representative Iman, thank you.
How's everyone doing? You know, when people ask me that question at the Capitol, I look at them and I say, genocide. And I make it so uncomfortable for them that when they ask me that question, because it's the thing to say, the look that comes over their face is the look that I want them to have. Feel uncomfortable about what's happening to my people, to our people, because we are the tribe that is standing against genocide. Thousands of students, of allies, of people in our tribes are doing what you are doing across the nation today, yesterday, last week, and this is what we need. But what have we been how have we been received? We've been received with eviction, expulsion, and violence. You know what makes me even more sad is that as an alumni of this campus, this is happening in Colorado. This is not the history that Colorado should be known for. This is not what we are known for. We are known for letting women be one of the first states for letting women vote in this country.
That's right.
We are the people who made sure that people of color could vote before we became a legislature. This is the history of Colorado, and this should be our legacy. You know, when I think about this movement, I think about who came before us. That we, as Americans, demanded that the United States stop the Vietnam War. We, as Americans, demanded that civil rights become commonplace. We, as Americans, demanded to know that all Americans should respect that Black Lives Matter. And that we commanded that all women should be treated equal. This is the America that we know. This is the America that we should expect. And this is the America that we demand that we respect our leaders to follow up with. Now, here's the problem, is that we have taken our demands, we have taken this legacy to the halls of Congress, to the people in power, to those making those laws, and what have we been met with? Violence, oppression, disrespect, closed doors in our faces, smiles, giving us taps on the head. Don't worry, it'll end soon. By the way, that's what one of my colleagues told me. But now we are taking that protest to the halls of our universities. If our leaders cannot make the change that we need to see in Washington, then we are going to demand it from our teachers. We are going to demand that this is what they teach. They teach truth, they teach history, and they teach that genocide should not be the legacy of this nation.
That's right.
When I talk about the civil rights movement, when I talk about Black Lives Matter, when I talk about Vietnam, when I talk about Me Too, those were moments in this country's history that shifted the paradigm of what it is to be an American. And I will end with this. This movement will now join the ranks of those moments in American history because what we are doing here today. This is how America will remember Palestine. This is how those 40,000 people dead, murdered, who have had starvation weaponized against them, whose bodies are decomposing underneath the rubble, whose children are starving to death.
With American weapons.
It is you here today, who I might say are not mostly Palestinian, are not mostly Arab. It is you with that privilege that we need to use your voice to say this movement will now be lamented in our history along with civil rights, along with Black Lives Matter, along with Me Too, and that will be the shift in our history.
Hell yeah!
Rep Epps said, every day I wear a Palestinian flag lapel pin. And it gets loose, and so it kind of gets crooked. And people try and fix it for me, and they're like, does it matter, like, the American flag, if it, hangs upside down or if it's sideways? And my answer to them is, as long as it's waving. So raise those flags, never let them down, always make sure they're waving, make people uncomfortable, and demand that we end a genocide. Thank you, God bless.
Thank you again to all our representatives for joining us out here today. So we're going to do a couple chants, and then I'll introduce my comrade Terry over here, and we'll hear from him. So we'll start first. Yemen, Yemen, make us proud.
Yemen, Yemen, make us proud.
Turn another ship around.
Turn another ship around.
Yemen, Yemen, make us proud.
Yemen, Yemen, make us proud.
Turn another ship around.
Turn another ship around.
All right. From Yemen to Palestine,
Yemen to Palestine.
imperialism is a crime.
Imperialism is a crime.
So I'm just reading these are new. From Palestine to Mexico,
From Palestine to Mexico,
all these walls have got to go.
all these walls have got to go.
All right. And so who we'll be hearing from next is loved by this community. Many of you already recognize him, Terry. He's also an educator on this campus, has been for a long time. And so happy to hear from my comrade and fighter for the people, Terry.
Comrades, I got no problem with the word. I got some credentials. I've been with the Colorado Palestine Coalition from the beginning. I'm with Colorado Mayday Club. I'm with DSA, and I'm a Gentile member of Jewish Voice for Peace, which, as I always like to say, just goes to show you how inclusive a Jewish organization can be when it's anti-Zionist. Before the pandemic, I used to teach at all 3 schools here. Now I'm down to 1 class at CCD, so I guess I'm now officially a failed academic. Anyway, yesterday, a statement was released jointly by the Israeli-American Council. Stop Anti-Semitism Colorado. Stand with us. And Jewish Colorado. Zionist organizations all. In it, this liberated space is called the pro-Hamas encampment. Now that right there calls for a slight clarification, don't you think? This space like spaces in colleges and universities across the nation, in cities and streets around the world, in villages and hamlets and camps from Lebanon to Rafah, from Australia to Yemen, from Standing Rock to East LA, to Santiago, to Havana, to Ho Chi Minh City, to poetry readings at Saj Grill out on Parker Road, to the Denver City Jail just across the way here. These are pro-resistance spaces. And resistance is a coalition of communities, of languages, of traditions, of organizations, of tactics. It is not now, nor ever was, only Hamas by itself. We've got folks in this movement who get a little queasy. Let's not be afraid of the truth here. This movement has truth on its side. Some get a little queasy at the mention of Hamas. And we've got folks who hear Hamas and think, you're damn right, whatever it takes. And a whole hell of a lot in between. And that's okay, because we are still united. What unites us is the commitment to resistance. Resistance to Zionist genocide. Resistance to U.S. imperialist militarist rule. Resistance to global capital. We saw its face yesterday, right here on the so-called Tivoli Quad. We see it every day. As the great Jewish revolutionary thinker Walter Benjamin, the Marxist rabbi, reminded us, the state of emergency in which we live is not the exception, but the rule. And proved it by taking an overdose of morphine tablets in 1940 rather than fall into the hands of the Gestapo. Many traditions, cultures, peoples, backgrounds, worldviews that we've got here have got real histories, often conflicting, and we can respect that by listening, that remembering, that understanding doesn't have to mean excusing, by putting the oppressed peoples in the vanguard. By confronting the situation with sound analysis instead of recklessness, with Samud, that great Palestinian steadfastness, and above all, with love. Not love that says, oh, what a shame on Facebook, or in the legislature, or in the classrooms of this campus, but the love that keeps showing up, the love that went to jail yesterday, the love that welcomes them back when they get released, the love of the Palestinian doctors in Gaza who keep working without supplies on the next patient, even after learning that their families have been martyred by the IOF and by our tax dollars. Much has been made of the similarities to the situation a little over half a century ago. Who was it that said that history may not repeat itself, but it often rhymes? It's one of those various attributed type deals. I like to tell my students, ye have heard it said by them of old time, that the more things change, the more they stay the same. But verily I say unto you, that the more things stay the same, the more they change. The more things change, the more they stay the same is a trope developed by those who want you to believe that the current order is eternal and unchanging, or by those who've acquiesced to that logic. And it sure can seem that way, because global capitalism keeps producing crises that pit the world's peoples against each other while pretending to be itself an innocent bystander. How can a global mode of production, 500 murderous years in the making, and by which whole societies produce and reproduce themselves at the cost of their population's labor and lives, be an innocent bystander? Capital in crisis produced Zionism in the 1890s. which fancied itself a liberation movement, but modeled itself on good old-fashioned Euro-American nationalism. Then it gave us 2 world wars, the second of which included a Holocaust, not just on Turtle Island anymore, as it had in the 19th century, but in Europe itself, because Nazism convinced a plurality of Germans that it was easier on the tired brain to blame the Jews for capitalism's crisis instead of looking at what was really going on. And now, American-style Zionism is calling us, an anti-Semitic mob, to distract attention from the horrific fact that Israeli Zionism is committing genocide.
That's the truth.
Because once again, the capitalist imperial world order is in crisis. So, it can seem like, same old, same old. But the old lies ring more hollow every time they're dragged out.
Hell yeah.
That's why they sent the cops yesterday. That's why they keep telling the lie that we're anti-Semites. Now, anti-Semitism is a real thing. Tree of Life really happened, and we have to stand up against that whenever we see it. But did you ever see or hear a more horrific example of the blood libel than Zionism committing genocide in Palestine and then turning around and saying, it's in the name of all Jews everywhere?
The name of the Zion.
They do it because we're winning. Now make no mistake, Palestinians are still dying. Our partial victories haven't ended the suffering. We haven't stopped this Holocaust yet, and we've got a long way to go. But somehow, the Palestinians are still alive. They honor their dead by living still. And by letting their martyrs nurture them. I'll close with a little more Benjamin, edited version. To articulate the past historically does not mean to remember it the way it really was. It means to seize hold of a memory as it flashes up at a moment of danger. Only that historian, or activist, or teacher, or student will have the gift of fanning the spark of hope in the past, who is firmly convinced that even the dead will not be safe from the enemy if he wins. And this enemy has not ceased to be victorious. Unquote. Now, if that sounds contradictory, it's because it is. It's a contradictory situation. They have their victories. The war machine is still grinding, but our victory is this. It will come to an end when we stop the crisis that is capitalism and imperialism. You are such a great blessing to the people who need it most. And I'm so grateful to be here with you today.
Let's go, Terry! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
What do you want me to do?
Hey, thank you, everybody. I just want to do a quick little housekeeping things. So if you just joined us, or if this is your first time in here, I want to point out a few things. We have marshals at this event wearing vests, high visibility vests. Raise your hands if you're a marshal. You can look around and see them. There's a lot of us, and so it's kind of hard to see everybody. There are a lot over there. But if you see something, say something to our marshals. We keep us safe. Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
That's right. And so let's do that. And then back into the chants. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Red, black, green, white!
Red, black, green,
For
white!
Palestine we will fight!
For Palestine we will fight!
Min Maya Lil Maya!
Min Maya, Min Maya!
Palestine Hurriye!
Palestine, Hurriya!
Hurriye, Hurriye!
Hurriya, Hurriya!
Palestine Hurriye!
Palestine, Hurriya!
That's Free Palestine. Oh, lovely, yeah. So we're just patting some time for one of our speakers with some chants, keep the energy up. When I say power to the people, you say all power to the people. Power to the people!
Power to the people!
Power to the people!
All power to the people!
Excellent. And so we'll be joined, is he coming right over? Hey, lovely. So I'll let the doctor to give a bit of an introduction himself too. But this is Dr. Glenn, a faculty member and longtime activist in the movement. And so, freedom fighters, lend your ear. If you could introduce yourself, we'd appreciate it. All right. Thanks for being here, folks.
Thank you.
My name is Glenn Morris. I'm with the American Indian Movement of Colorado. And we have several members here. I want to smudge. There's smudge in the right here in this part. Yeah. Just give me a second, will you? I just rolled in.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the sea to the river, Palestine will live forever.
Okay, we'll do this again. A lot of people talk about land acknowledgement. We're going to do the land acknowledgement. But it's not just the land acknowledgement. It's the rain acknowledgement. It's the wind acknowledgement. It's the sun acknowledgement. It's not just about the people who lived here. And so we're going to ask you, some of the native people of this place, to be cognizant of that. Because many of us, maybe some of you, we've been in land struggles all of our lives. All over Turtle Island here, as we call it. Standing Rock, to try to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline. And here, my girl, you want to hold this for me? Thanks. Thank you. And so we ask you, when this started, this land was dry and the sun was out, and now it's not. And so it requires a special cognizance and consciousness on your part to care for this place in this condition. Because if you don't, when you leave, it will be destroyed. And we don't need that, first of all, for the earth. But second of all, because they'll blame you. That's no joke. And so they're looking for any reason to come in with the cops again. And that's one of them. They say, oh, they're killing all the grass. Never mind about all the kids in Gaza. And so we just ask you to be cognizant of that. And when we bring our sacred things before we speak, we ask you to be aware of that. And I thank all my relatives here from the American Indian movement who are here. And we put the call out to other Native people. Get out here. As my shirt says, no more Nakba. No more Nakba here, no more Nakba there. And in my whole time in the American Indian movement, my whole adult life, we have stood in solidarity with the Palestinian people when we went to the United Nations to develop an indigenous people's presence at the UN in the 1970s and 80s. Our greatest ally was the Palestine Liberation Organization. They showed us the ropes, they showed us how to do it, they took our young people over to Lebanon to train them, and we've never forgotten that relationship. And so we like to start our words off with these sacred things. We don't ask anybody else to believe these things, but we know them to be true because they emerge from this place, and we're here because of them still. And so it doesn't matter if people believe it. We believe it. Our ancestors believe it. Our children believe it. And our future generations are going to believe it. And that's why we're here, for our 7th generation, for their 7th generation. So, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, I've been traveling a bit, and so I've been in and out, but in addition to being in the American Indian movement, I'm a professor emeritus from the University of Colorado. I taught here for 40 years in the political science department. And I received 2 university medals for that service. And I'm a President's Teaching Scholar. And I don't say that to be bragging around. I say that because of those things, I demand certain things of this university. And all of you who are associated with this university and have been associated with this university have a right to demand justice from this institution. That means divestment from Israel. That means, and we fought this out in my own department, no more study abroad to Israel. And we're going to get pushback on that. That's all right. As I was asked to come and speak here, I was going through some of my files, and I learned that that's the importance of paper. You're all strung out on that electronic stuff. And some of these archives aren't on the electronic files. But they're in my office. And 40 years ago, there was an encampment here against apartheid in South Africa. For months, people camped here, demanding that the University of Colorado divest from South Africa. And a couple of short years later, Mandela was out of prison and was the president of South Africa. And it's all because of this. No, but that's what we can do. And as the saying goes, la lucha continua. The struggle continues and continues and continues. And even after today, it will continue. And we talk about land back and land acknowledgement. But I can't speak for the American Indian movement today without asking you all to remember one of the greatest patriots of the indigenous land back movement in this area, in this hemisphere. And that's Leonard Peltier.
That's right.
Who's been in prison for 48 years for fighting for this land. Who has consistently supported the Palestinian struggle outside of prison and inside of prison. And he's dying, and he has the right to be free.
That's right.
He also has a parole hearing coming up.
And the one thing that's happening right now that you can do, there's a letter from the Senate asking Biden and Merrick Garland to give him compassionate parole. And so the one thing you can do is call Michael Bennett and John Hickenlooper and tell them to sign that letter to free Leonard Peltier.
Hell yeah!
That's what we can do from today in solidarity with other people in struggle. Okay, good. I'm gonna take it. So, but also when we're in this weather and it seems relentless, as Native people, we have to remember that we wouldn't be here if our ancestors hadn't survived this kind of weather during all the forced marches, all the genocide. And that's why we're here today, because I hear people all the time, I heard them in my classes say, oh, if I had only been there. If I had only been there, I would have helped those Native people. If I had been there, I would have helped during the Holocaust. If I had been there, I would have helped in Kurdistan. I would have helped in Armenia during those genocides. Well, you're here. You're here, and it's now. And so we have that responsibility to do everything that we can to stop a genocide in our time in this place. And we remember this weather. I'm from the Shawnee Nation. We marched from Ohio to Kansas to Oklahoma. In weather worse than this, without umbrellas, without ponchos, without shoes, in the snow and the rain, with kids dying and old people dying. And just like the Zionists today, this government didn't care. And they blamed us. Just like they're blaming the people of Gaza. And so we remember it's going to rain. It's going to snow. But the sun's coming. The sun's coming. And so it's our responsibility to stand in the rain and in the snow and to suffer if we need to. Because I guarantee you, the suffering that we're experiencing is nothing. Nothing compared to what they're experiencing in Gaza, what our people experienced. And we remember when we were up at DAPL for months and months in the snow and the rain saying no pipeline across treaty territory. But what held us together was community. and solidarity with one another. And a vision. And we had not just Native people, not just Lakotas and Dakotas, Diné people, Native people from Peru and Chile and Brazil, but non-Native people, the ecumenical community, church people, Black Lives Matter people. And that's what gave us community. And that's what's going to help us win this struggle as well. And so I think Jewish Voice for Peace, anti-Zionist Jews. Because we remember when we were fighting, and I know some of you were out there with us, fighting Columbus Day here.
That's right.
Going to jail to stop racism in the birthplace of Columbus Day. And we had Italians, progressive Italians, to transform the Columbus holiday who stood with us. And that was more powerful than simply Native people standing by ourselves. And I want to tell you a lesson that we learned in that struggle, which took 20 years. We did all of these things. Marched, chanted, went to jail, took over offices. And I know Michael, what's his name? Mayor, what's his name?
Johnston.
Mike Johnson, sorry. Brain freeze.
Who is it? Who is it?
Now let me tell you something though. This is a lesson that we learned in our struggle. Is everybody out of jail yet? Who was arrested yesterday? Michael Johnson is the mayor. He has the power to tell the city attorney how people get arrested. And so all you legal team people who are here, remember that. They could take you over to that bus and give you a ticket and cut you loose. They could take you to jail and give you a ticket and cut you loose. Or they could book you, which is what they did, right? And made you bail out. That's the mayor's prerogative.
That's right.
So, don't shame him. You go to his office and you tell him.
That's right.
This is what we want. This is what we demand. This is what justice requires. You come out here, we don't want you to come out here and tell us to take the tents down. We want you to tell the city attorney that if people get arrested here and they go down to the city jail, they get the ticket and they get cut loose. And then they'll show up. And then we'll fight it at trial. That's right, and win. And so there are all kinds of strategies to deal with, but Johnson and the chief of police and the sheriff, they all need to hear that. And they need to know that you know that. And that's the power of solidarity again, intergenerational solidarity. Some of us have been around the block a couple times on this stuff, and we might have something to share with you about that. And that's the value of teaching, and that's the value of strikes. Let's just say if there was a strike on this campus on Tuesday or Wednesday, and there was a teach-in instead. But the people who made the decision about bringing the cops in here, they live in that building, you know. They have an office in that building. They have a name in that building. And they're not counting on being held accountable for that. Just like the chancellor or the board of regents for CU. They have an office across the street. They have names. And they don't want to see you in their office. So, I was just reminded about that, about all of those things, and about how this is the next stage of that struggle. And now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to make a difference here. Just before I came here, I was listening to the news. Arizona State, 90 people arrested. Emory, dozens of people arrested. It's all over the country. And all you social media buffs, get on those people in Boulder.
That's
Get on those
right.
people in Colorado Springs. Get on those people over at DU,
That's right.
Regis. It should be this on every campus.
That's right.
They don't have enough cops to deal with all that. So, I heard the speaker before me. I'm not sure who that was, but because I was just rolling in, but talking about the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. I think we're all hip to that, right? Like,
That's right.
everybody knows the response to that. I'll try to pull that on me. I know the difference between Judaism and Zionism.
Whoa!
And we know that here as Native people because they did that here. It's called Manifest Destiny, in which they used religion here. They used Christianity here
Yeah,
to justify the theft of our homeland.
that's right.
And we're still not letting them get away with it. Even though it's the ideology of this country, we still resist it as much as we can. So I was thinking about, as I was driving down from the mountains, I was thinking about
Chantel.
that chant, and the one that they claim is anti-Semitic, and it's so dangerous to people, and it's so threatening to people, and it's so offensive to Jewish students. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And I thought, yeah, that's right. And when I'm chanting that and somebody says that to me and says, that's offensive, that's anti-Semitic, I have another chant for them. It goes, from Oregon to Massachusetts, native land back, no excuses. Native land back, no excuses. And so that's how much in solidarity we are. And they want to tell me what? That's anti-American? That's anti-Christian? Okay. All right. I can live with that. I'm just done. I'm done. So I just have a couple of things that I want to wrap up with. Because as I was thinking about this, and I know that most of you know this passage, but I was out here last night when the cops were thinking about rolling in, but they didn't, I guess. And the chief of police was over there, and the mayor came in. And I was thinking about some of the words that inspired me in the struggle that we've been going through for decades. And I was thinking about that quote from Frederick Douglass that some of you, I'm sure, have all heard. But as I get older, sometimes I take things for granted. And I think that some of you younger people have heard this passage. And then I go to my classes and I realize people haven't heard it. So I'm going to say it to remind us, to inspire us. Because that's what we need in the rain is inspiration. We need to know that we're not alone. And we need to know why we're here. We need to know what the vision is for why we're here. And Frederick Douglass was in his own struggle, abolishing slavery. And he was making this speech. And he said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one. And it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. And I just want to end with the words of my brother and the great Lakota leader Russell Means, who said we must know the difference between motion and movement. Motion is ego-driven flailing. Movement is community, inspired by principle and discipline and vision. Let us join together and pursue our vision of a more just, decolonized, free world.
Let's hear it one more time for the professor and everyone else in the American Indian movement. And so our next speaker is a leader in Denver, Jewish Voice for Peace. It'll be Ray. So here it is.
All right. Sounds good.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ray. I use they, them pronouns. I'm from Denver, Jewish Voice for Peace. And we're here today, so many of us from JVP, anti-Zionist Jews, showing up to raise our collective voice with the Palestinian community, with the students. Thank you for pushing us to be here no matter what is happening with the weather. And we are here with all people fighting for a free and a liberated Palestine. We're here to say not in our name, to say that Jewish safety is dependent on Palestinian safety and that our liberations are connected. We will never be free if they are not free as well with us. As Jewish Voice for Peace, we support BDS, which stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions.
Yeah.
We are here to support this divestment movement, to stand in solidarity and just with you. Divestment, we know, is a key strategy for ending the U.S.-Israel alliance, which is what we are called to do as American Jews and as all people in the fight for Palestinian liberation. So it's Passover right now. Passover is a holiday in the Jewish tradition that celebrates, that celebrates the Exodus from Egypt, and the Exodus from slavery to freedom, the Exodus from a narrow place, or Mitzrayim. And each year on Passover, we say the phrase, "Let all who are hungry come and eat." And we are here today to call on the Israeli government, to call on your administration, to let food into Gaza, to answer these demands of the students, and to make sure that the people of Gaza are not starving, that they can come eat too. We know that the Israeli government has killed over 34,000 Palestinians, including 14,000 children, decimated Gaza's healthcare system, and rendered almost 2 million Palestinians homeless and starving. This is on purpose. The U.S. is still sending more money and more weapons to the Israeli military, and as many of you likely know, the House just passed a $26 billion aid bill for Israel. And you know who voted for that? Every single one of our Colorado representatives voted for that. The U.S. is defunding UNRWA, the largest single provider of humanitarian aid, as well as we see this forced famine happening in Gaza. So Passover is also a holiday of liberation, where we celebrate the liberation from slavery, the liberations of our time that we need to celebrate. This year's holiday of liberation urges every one of us to step up our commitment to the liberation of the Palestinian people. It urges us to reclaim the thousands-old Jewish tradition from a 76-year-old apartheid state and to return to the understanding that all people are created B'Tselem Elohim, which means in the image of God, or that all life is precious. We know that none of us are free until all of us are free. Sorry, I was trying to figure out where I am. The context of 75 years of occupation and apartheid is still glaringly missing from the mainstream conversation that talks about this conflict starting on October 7th. We know that is not when this conflict started. Right now, we need an immediate ceasefire, and we say shame on all of our reps who just sent millions to the Israeli military. Say it again. We recognize that for many, the call to unconditionally support Israel, including sending increased military funding, is coming from a place of deep grief, fear, and anxiety, which we know is based in trauma, and trauma that is real and trauma that does not justify by any means this response. And we know that more weapons will only bring more harm to everyone. We firmly believe that Jews, like all people, have the right to live in safety and dignity. However, we do not believe in a version of safety that requires dispossession and destruction of another people. So, part of our tradition is singing, and I'm going to ask you to sing with me. So, singing is also a way that we can calm our bodies somatically. When we sing together, we heal our collective trauma with each other. So this is a song that I would like for you to sing with me today. And I'm going to sing it all the way through, and then I'm going to ask you to sing with me. So, well, okay, we're just going to do this. So it goes, raising our voices, higher and higher. Higher and higher. And now this next part is everybody together. So I'm going to sing it and then we're going to all sing it together. But usually we'll just go right next to it. So we'll practice and get it. And then so the last part is no more war. We call for a ceasefire. So let's do that together. No more war. We call for a ceasefire. Raising our voices, higher and higher, higher and higher. No more, we sing it all together. More, we call for a ceasefire. Raising our voices, higher and higher, higher and higher. Everyone, no more war. We call for a ceasefire, raising our voices, higher and higher, higher and higher. No more war. We call for a ceasefire. We're gonna go faster. Raising our voices, higher and higher, higher and higher. No more war. We call for a ceasefire. Raising our voices, higher and higher, higher and higher. No more war. We call for a ceasefire. Raising our voices louder. Louder and higher. Higher and higher. No more war. We call for a ceasefire. Louder. raising our voices,
raising our voices,
higher and higher,
higher and higher.
no more war, we call for a ceasefire. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a million. We're so happy that our brothers and sisters and siblings from JVP are here with us. All right. And so stick together here. We have more speakers. We have one more speaker coming, and a few more speakers coming after that. And so in the meantime, we'll get a few chants going to get the energy back up. Let me find it here. All right. Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Apartheid has got to fall.
Apartheid has got to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Apartheid has got to fall.
Apartheid has got to fall.
Free the people, free them all.
Free the people, free them all.
Break the chains and let them fall.
Break the chains and let them fall.
All right. Let's see. Thank you. And so some good divestment ones here. You all know this one. Not another nickel, not another dime.
Not another nickel, not another time.
No more money for Israel's crimes.
No more money for Israel's crimes.
Not another penny, not another dollar.
Not another penny, not another dollar.
We won't pay for Zionist slaughter.
We won't pay for Zionist slaughter.
All right, here's another one. And this one's to Joe Biden, Zionist Joe Biden, Genocide Joe, who thinks it's okay to continue funding this war when everybody in the country is standing up against it. And so this one's for him. Yes, shame. Hey, Joe Biden, you will see.
Hey, Joe Biden, you will see.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Hey, Joe Biden, you will learn.
Hey, Joe Biden, you will learn.
By the millions they'll return.
By the millions they'll return.
All right, and these are good ones to remember. All right. From Palestine to the Philippines.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
All right. Let me get a check here. You work?
Disclose, divest. We will not stop. We will not rest.
Disclose, divest.
We will not stop. We will not rest.
Disclose! Divest! We will not stop! We will not rest! Disclose!
Divest.
Yeah.
We will not stop. We will not rest. Disclose. Divest. We will not stop. We will not rest.
Disclose, divest.
We will not stop. We will not rest.
Disclose, divest.
We will not stop. We will not rest.
Disclose, divest.
We will not stop. We will not rest.
All right, let's switch it up a little bit. 2, 4, 6, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8.
Smash the Zionist settler state.
Smash the Zionist settler state.
2, 4, 6, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8.
Smash the Zionist settler state.
Smash the Zionist settler state.
It is right to rebel.
It is right to rebel.
Israel can go to hell.
Israel can go to hell.
It is right to rebel.
It is right to rebel.
Israel can go to hell.
Israel can go to hell.
All right. We'll do this one. Intifada, intifada.
Intifada, intifada.
Long live the intifada.
Long live the intifada.
Intifada, intifada.
Intifada, intifada.
Long live the intifada.
Long live the intifada.
Victory to the resistance.
Victory to the resistance.
Victory to the resistance.
Victory to the resistance.
Lovely.
She doesn't have much time to just present her.
All right, so everyone, we're being joined by Dr. Angela Davis, co-founder of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, political prisoner, freedom fighter, and we're so happy to have her here. I consider her a great educator for me, as I'm sure many of you do. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Hell yeah!
Free Palestine! First of all, I want you to know how important it is that you are taking this stand at this moment. I want to emphasize what this means for history. And as you imagine this period being narrated 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, you will be the historical actors who made it possible for a breakthrough in the struggle against Zionism, the struggle to free Palestine. Unfortunately, I don't have much time. We ran into like 4 or 5 accidents coming down from Colorado Springs. And I have a flight shortly. I won't tell you how close, if I make the flight. But I wanted you to know that as a person who has been involved in the movement to develop solidarity with Palestine since the 1960s, this is the moment we have all been waiting for. And as my unfortunately now deceased friend, June Jordan, constantly said when she was alive, she was a real pioneer in encouraging Black solidarity with Palestine. She made the point that Palestine is a moral litmus test for struggles against justice everywhere in the world. And this is a moment that marks a breakthrough in the effort to discredit Zionism, to challenge Zionism, to challenge Zionism effectively. And I have the feeling that we're moving in that direction. And that is because you, students, faculty, workers like you all over the country, from Columbia to Brown to NYU. I can't even name all of the encampments that are calling for divestment on college and university campuses everywhere. But I cannot tell you how you make me feel. Because after having struggled for decades and decades, I realized that this is what we've been struggling for. And I stand here not as an individual, but to bear witness for all of those who have been involved in this struggle to generate solidarity with Palestine, justice for Palestine, freedom for Palestine. And if Palestine can be free, then the entire world can be
Free the people, free them all! Break the chains and let them fall!
All right, everybody, simmer down. She's got a flight she's got to make. Let's calm down, okay? Jeez Louise. All right, guys, give the good doctor some space. All right, let's get some chants going again. Gaza, Gaza, you will rise.
Gaza, Gaza, you will rise.
Palestine will never die.
Palestine will never die.
Gaza, Gaza, you will rise.
Gaza, Gaza, you will rise.
Palestine will never die.
Palestine will never die.
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Al-Aqsa Mosque is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Stand up.
Fight back.
There we go. Some of you know it. Stand up.
Fight back.
Stand up.
Fight back.
Stand up.
Fight back.
Stand up.
Fight back.
And that's what we'll do. Because when the people unite, we can win. And history is now, you know. Some of the leaders in SJP National were talking at a meeting. And some of us in SDS were participating. And they said, we're at a historic crossroads here, a historic point. A mission of the students has landed on us. You know, we have a historic mission to end the aid to Israel and divest our universities from this bloody machine, and we're going to do it. So we're happy to be here. So we have more speakers in the program. We actually have some of our Denver City Council people. Let me get my names out here. It'll be just a moment. Can you remove some
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine.
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free.
From the sea to the river!
From the sea to the river.
Palestine will live forever!
Palestine will live forever.
How are you guys feeling after seeing Dr. Angela Davis? I think it's so amazing that on the rainiest, coldest day, we've had so many legendary, so many inspirational, so many incredible people on our side. We know we're doing the right thing here today, so thank you guys. Woo! I know that Dr. Angela Davis has been an inspiration to me and many of you, and has taught me so much about organizing. Even in her book, she has called out SJP chapters. So don't ever for a second think that what you're doing isn't important. We're here for the students, and we will stay here as long as we need to. And the weather is gonna get better, y'all. It's gonna get better tomorrow and Monday. So remember that when you feel cold. Yesterday, I cried like 3 times, and I was like, whatever I'm feeling is not anything comparable to what the people in Gaza are feeling. So, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine.
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free.
From the sea to the river!
From the sea to the river.
Palestine will live forever!
Palestine will live forever.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine.
All right, and so we have more people joining the fight, folks. We have Councilwoman Chantel M. Lewis.
Yeah!
So, Councilwoman also founded the March for Black Women, or the Black Women's March, I should say. Sorry there. City Councilwoman also introduced with Councilwoman Parody the ceasefire resolution that was voted down by a bunch of terrible council people
That's
to
right.
represent the people.
That's right.
So, but that's not one of the council people we have here with us today. Chantel stands with us and with the movement and with the people of Palestine. So without further ado.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. All right, so Representative Epps let me know that Rob Prince was here because she had mentioned him in her talk. And a lot of you asked, who is that? Well, we make a lot of noise on Denver City Council along with this one, so thank you so much. This is so, those here with me because who speaks after me? It's kind of messed up, but nonetheless, we're here. We're here. So thank you all for the opportunity to share space with you, to share this microphone and allowing me to speak today. I genuinely appreciate it. It's a great privilege to stand in solidarity against the atrocities being committed across the world using American dollars to do so, American weapons and American resources. Shame. Shame. This is actually the conversion of me. My staff gets to hear the morning, afternoon rant, so you won't have to be subject to that. You are a part of an incredible legacy of students who have stood up in opposition to the subjugation of systemic violence worldwide. That's right. This university does not get to say that a peaceful protest in response to violent genocide and the erasure of an entire people is the wrong answer. While at the same time watching civil rights be violated, educators of this institutions of higher learning have some nerve to cherry pick moments from history to tell what is good leaders and what good leaders do, ignoring the realities of our difficult history, and that's putting it lightly. The Israel government has been openly violating international law for months without intervention. Meanwhile, you're right. Years. No, I'm here for you. I love you, girlfriend. Come stand by me. Meanwhile, enablers comment not on the violence being committed, but instead how those standing opposed to genocide express their discontent. Make that make sense, because it won't. I'm proud of you, because when you look back in history, each of you will say, here is what I did when the institutions failed us. So give yourselves a round of applause. It was students like you, hundreds of them, walking out of their classrooms in 1969, right here in Denver, which kickstarted the Chicano movement nationwide. That's right. It was 39 students being arrested at the University of Denver for occupying the registrar's office, which led to the establishment of the Student Affairs Committee. In 1970, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all share. I'm mad. I'm trying to calm down. In 1970, in solidarity with the 4 students killed in Ohio at Kent, my sister's calling me, bless her. At Kent State, students occupied the lawn that is now Penrose Library. 1,500 students constructed a commune, living in tents and shanties for 5 days, demanding an end to the Vietnam War. And in 2004, 85 students occupied Boulder High School for days, opposing the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. 4 years later, when Denver hosted the Democratic National Convention, thousands of students led the movement against the continuation of the occupation, and in 2012, only a few days after the Occupy movement started in New York, students in Colorado had established camps in solidarity with a nationwide movement. These institutions are about learning. This is learning. I graduated from this school, and I'm embarrassed to say that at this moment. I'm not gonna hold y'all. This is where you learn who you are as individuals and who we want to be as a nation. Yes. We put what we learn into practice, not just explore theory. Learning does not just happen in classrooms, regurgitating stats and facts. Learning happens right here in these moments, when blood is being spilled unnecessarily while we watch people intentionally look away, do not let them look away. You all don't look away. For those that want to ignore you in these atrocities, do not give up. Don't let up. The fact is that Denver's camping ban was first established to silence dissenting voices, to silence your voices. Power does not concede without a demand. You all are demanding that the time and dollars you invest in this institution reflects your values and your principles, and asking you to look away or become desensitized to death is unacceptable. Protest is the peaceful defiance of unjust rules. And if we being real, this ain't a script. They lucky you ain't burning this shit down. Those whose power you threaten with your voices strive to silence you through any means, including, as we've seen here over the weekend, through violence. The nerve. State-sanctioned violence. Shame. 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 They are willing to go to such extreme because peaceful protest in the occupation of space, like you are doing today, works. Period. It does. From Seattle's successful general strikes in the early 1900s through the Poor People's Campaign's Resurrection City in D.C. in the 1960s, through to the modern student movements I've already mentioned their work. Take care of each other out here. And remember that they will try to silence you, and that only means that you are being heard and you are effective. I love y'all. Keep fighting.
Thank you again for coming out and fighting the good fight. And at the mention of the March on the DNC of past, I wanted to talk about the one in the future. Denver SDS is a part of the coalition to march on the DNC in Chicago this August 19th. And we're going with a whole lot of other organizations that care about peace, care about ending this genocide, and telling the Democrats that we're sick and tired of their agenda and their lack of following through with what the people call for them to do. And so we're going to march on that convention. We encourage anyone to join us. We encourage faith groups, organizations, student organizations, and community groups to sign on to the Denver contingent, the Colorado contingent, and to join us on the streets in Chicago when we march on the DNC. Talk to anybody in the SDS and we can get you worked into doing that. And any of the organizations here today, it'd be good to have you. And so, yeah. Here. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
So this one, Palestine is almost free!
Palestine is almost free!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine is almost free!
Palestine is almost free!
Because we understand this is a genocide, but at the same time, it is a national liberation struggle on the other side of it. You got people who aren't helpless, people who are fighting back and resisting against all odds, you know? And so we support them. And we stand with the resistance in that just fight. So we say, glory to the martyrs.
Glory to the martyrs!
All the teachers, nurses, doctors.
All the teachers, nurses, doctors.
We say glory to the martyrs.
We say glory to the martyrs.
All the brave freedom fighters.
All the brave freedom fighters.
Glory to the martyrs.
Glory to the martyrs.
All right. And so I would encourage people at this time, as a sort of lull in our program, because we may have more people come in later and other stuff lined up to grab some coffee from our supply tent. Grab an umbrella if you haven't, or a poncho. We have lots of ponchos. We have lots of supplies. I see a lot of people who are underdressed for the weather. So we even have winter coats. So if you need one of those. Scarves too. So scarves, if you need anything to stay warm, gloves, hot hands, or if you want to help pass some of that stuff out, now's a good time to do that. We'll get a little bit of music going, and then I encourage you all to commiserate and talk to one another. Hold down this encampment, talk about liberation, talk about Palestine. We learn from one another in doing this. So. We even have socks if you need new socks. And we have way too many socks.
Joining us, guys.
And then switch them to.
That was amazing. I did not expect to see David's. Wonderful. You're gonna hang out here for a while, but thanks for joining us, guys. Love you all.